Hello everyone, and welcome to the first episode of Simple Talk. It's been a little journey with the tech here, but we're going pre-recorded for this one. And so our first guest is Victoria Watts from Pasta Tavola. And yeah, she's got an amazing story. And let's start. Tell us about your journey.
Tell us about our journey. Oh my goodness. Oh, it's been so easy. No. Our journey. Well, I'm going to tell you first about Pasta Tavola. So Pasta Tavola is started in 2010. And I co-founded the company along with my sister, Paula, and she is the chef and, the creator of all good things of the Pasta Tavola. And I do a lot more. I do a lot of the business development side. And what we offer is a line of frozen ravioli and sauces. And we manufacture those for wholesale markets. So you'll see us in retail shops and in some restaurants, those kind of things. So in 2010, both Paula and I were looking for a change, and we wanted to start a business. Knew nothing at all about food, but we both love food. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, other than Paula being a chef, we didn't know anything about food business, right? So we decided, yeah, let's start a food business together. So that's what we did. And it literally started in my kitchen, just making, some fresh pastas. And as you know, I'm Italian, so food for us is a really big deal. And, as we started to develop our business, we were having lots of conversations about, what food means to us and what will this business look like, and all of our conversations really centered around our growing up in an Italian household and making really great food around the pasta table. And that is what Pasta Tavola is. That's what Pasta Tavola means, is pasta table in Italian. So we knew we had this really great story about making great, simple food around the pasta table with our Nonna and our mother and our aunts. And we needed to just go with it. So we started to make fresh pastas and sauces. We started off at the farmer's market. And that was a really great learning experience for us because we got to have face-to-face contact with our customers and ask them questions like, why are you buying this? What do you like? What do you dislike? We really got to have a full profile of who a Pasta Tavola customer would be. Then later that year, we moved into a commercial kitchen, which was about 1,500 square feet. And it was out of that commercial kitchen. Yeah, it was out of that commercial kitchen that we just really learned the business. Because like I said, we didn't know anything about business at all. And there really were not a lot of mentors or other people doing what we were doing, which was, offering fresh food. So we moved into a commercial kitchen. We had a little retail shop, and we started offering, fresh pastas and sauces and takeaway meals out of that shop. We added some catering to it and then some pasta making classes. So, we did a whole lot of things in that little shop, Eventually we knew we wanted to, it wasn't retail really was what we really wanted to get into. We wanted to do some wholesale. So being so close to wine country here in, Prince Edward County, we wanted to hook up with some of the restaurants. And so we started doing that, offering our pastas and our ravioli. And it was really our ravioli that took off. And we knew that we had, found something that we could really launch, into something that was bigger. So throughout 2012, we started to just sell throughout in our local environment, like our local community. And by 2016, we were, getting quite a few customers, branching outside of our local community. We revamped our packaging, added some more products to our line, and we had to have our first, I think it was our first or yeah, we went through 2 renovations. I think 2017 was our last renovation that we did to our facility, and we added on about another 3,000 square feet with new machinery and all of those things, and freezer space. And So that happened in 2017, and that really allowed us to build some momentum and to get into some really heavy hitters. So we started working with Sobeys and Whole Food Market and Metro, and it was at that point that I think there was just a switch of like, okay, like we're a brand, we need to, we need to build that and build that infrastructure. Then in 2019, we were the recipients of the first Women Entrepreneurship Fund grant. We were one of 50 companies in the first round. So I'm not sure there was a second round. I think there was a second or third round of that, but we were in the first round. And that was incredible because it was such a turning point for our company, because it really allowed us to focus on getting us ready to launch nationally. And in 2020, that is what we did right in the midst of COVID. We launched our brand nationally. We signed on with a national distributor, and we had a national broker, and we're launched. And I think as of March, we're in every province across Canada. So that's our trajectory as a company. I mean, that's kind of the evolution of the company, but it seems pretty linear, right? When I say it to you that, oh yeah, we did this and then we did this, but I'm going to tell you, Jenny, like, yeah, it's not linear. The journey was not smooth, as most entrepreneurial journeys are. They're not smooth. Lots of learning, lots of pivoting, lots of fails, and obviously in some wins too, right? We're still here and we're in our 11th year. So
it's a big deal.
So yeah, that's it. Yeah.
So one piece of advice you wish you had before you started?
One piece of advice. Oh, I'm going to give you more than just one, because I never follow the rules. Never follow the rules.
Me neither. I'm a rule breaker.
I think the thing is that, the one piece of advice, I think one thing that I wish I had known, right, is, and really known, but you don't really know until you actually go through it, right? Like you never really know how it is to be a parent until you actually have kids. Like people can tell you, but you never really know. So it's the same thing, I think, in your entrepreneurial journey too. Like you just never know. But I really wish I knew truly how long things would take. It takes a really long time. And it seems like, it's just never enough, right? Like you meet that milestone and it's like, okay, well, that was anticlimactic. Now we need to get, like, I remember thinking, oh, once we get into Whole Foods, like that is going to be like our height. We've done it. It's great. And it was like, we got into Whole Foods and it's like, that's it. Okay, now we have to get to something else, right? So it's always something, but I think the length of time, and even after 11 years, we're still not, we're never in the place that we want to be. Like we still have like, okay, this is what we want to do now. And we want to do this, right? So it takes a long, long time. That's one thing that I wish I really just felt and knew that it would take a long time. The second thing though, is I think I also really wanted to know, or wish I'd known, is how much business being an entrepreneur takes out of you. Like it's a lot of work, and it's very demanding. And what I mean by that is, everything takes a lot of work. There's lots of work, right? Like, and anything that you do, you have to put work in. But when you own your own business and when you are an entrepreneur, you are full out there. Like it brings out your vulnerabilities. It brings out your strengths, your weaknesses. Like it tests you. And I think I wasn't prepared for how much it was going to test. Yeah. Like it tests you every day. It tests your resilience, your strength, your smarts. And that's a hard thing, but you need to prepare yourself for that, because if you're not a person who gets excited about that, and, as much as it's like there's stress involved, it can be really exhilarating. Like I am exhilarated by the fact that I have to put myself on the line and I have to like pull through. And it's incredible to actually be able to watch, this idea that we started off with, that we have literally, both Paula and I have literally built up, blood, sweat, and tears, right? Over the years. But I think those are two main things that I wish I'd really understood as an entrepreneur going into it. The time and just what it takes.
It's like you work hard and you get excited for those little things. And yeah, that's what makes your day, right? Every win is like, yes, I did it, right? On to the next one.
Exactly. And I think the thing is that you really have to, as entrepreneurs, you really have to, celebrate those small wins, because it's how you progress. Like you don't often progress, in these huge steps, like leaps and bounds. Like sometimes it's just like, okay, step by step, keeping your head down, step by step, keeping your head on the goal. And then lo and behold, it's like, whoa, look at that. I'm a national brand, right? So, but you need to celebrate those little small like celebrations, little small milestones that happen, because you need to have joy, right, in what you're doing, and you need to find those joyful moments in this journey, because they're not all joyful, right?
No. Some of them are, sitting down, crying, drinking a bottle of wine.
Exactly.
And the next day you're on top of the world.
That's it. It really is the highs and lows, right? Like I don't know if I'll ever get used to that, but there are quite the highs and lows. Like one day you're flying high, the next day you're like, are you seriously? Am I really doing this? Seriously? So yeah, it's it's really crazy, but you have to, I think as a person, like, if you're an entrepreneur, like it really is a life journey. I really believe that entrepreneurship is not so much about the business, but it's really about the life journey. It's about discovering yourself. It's about your resilience. It's about relationships with others. I truly believe that.
Okay, so last question or point. Do you have any tips or pointers for other entrepreneurs?
I can talk all day about that. I think, so many, where do I begin? I think number one, I think you really, if you're starting off a business, I always say, like, you need to start off with your value proposition. And I know it just sounds so cliche, right? Like you need to know your value proposition, but the reality is that you actually really need to know your value proposition. You need to know who you are and how you differ from the competition. Like you need to know what your value is to the market, right? And you need to know who your customer is. And because you're really looking at synergies, right, between your business and between that community of people who are going to purchase your service or your product from you, right? So you really need to know the ins and outs of that. And you think, oh, that's really easy. It's not. Like even to this day, like we at Pasta Tavola, we're constantly evolving and revisiting that. Now we're in a whole different kind of business model, way of being, and we're having to revisit all of those things again to make sure that we continue to be relevant, and we're doing, we're building the brand in the right way. So I think really knowing your value and who you are, and I think also in the beginning really sticking in your lane. I think we tend to want to take on everything and do everything and be everything to everyone. And I think especially in the beginning, it doesn't mean that you can't take on those things later on, but you really need to start on a solid footing. And I think the best successes happen when you can identify what you're really good at and you stick to it, right? And it's the same in even just like managing your business, right? Like you can't be everything. So you need to know, like, this is what I'm good at, and this is what I can execute well. And I need to bring in people who can help me do these other things. Like I need to know a little bit about it, but I'm going to leave it to some other experts to kind of deal with that. Right.
Yeah.
So I think those are, though, I don't know. How about you? Like, do you find that that's the case?
I was everything. I wanted to do everything and be everything. And then I was
Yeah.
just like, nope, I'm just going to delegate this because there's other people who have strengths that are better than mine for specific things. And
Right.
yeah.
And you'll also go insane, right? Like
Yeah.
you're only one person.
Exactly.
You know, and I
It's
find that
true though.
entrepreneur, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry.
No,
Go ahead.
the feedback sometimes here, technology, it's never seamless. I
Never.
think too, like, I mean, as entrepreneurs, right? Like often entrepreneurs are like cut out of the same cloth, right? Like we're go-getters and we want to take on everything, but you just can't. No.
Yeah, what you were saying about the business evolving, like when I started, my business is it's still got the same frame, but it's very different compared to when I first started. Like I was just offering some service here and there. It was pretty low key, and now we have like a full marketing department and all sorts of different other options that you can get through us. So it's business is always changing, and your model is always going to change. So you got to be prepared to go with the flow.
You do, you really do. I mean, you have to be okay with change because that's the one certainty, right? Is that things are going to change. Things never stay the same. And, you know, that's a good thing because when you're in your, the depths, right? Where you're just like, I feel like I've hit rock bottom, you know, that's temporary. So, you start to develop, I think, over the years, like a kind of a resilience to it, right? Where it's like, yeah, okay, today was sucky, but tomorrow's probably going to be different, right? Like it
Yep.
really does switch like this, right? Like just like the snap of your fingers that quickly. Like it is very crazy. Um, so that's number one. Like that's one tip that I would say is is to start there. But I think too, like, if you're actually starting off a business, like really starting off, and I'm in the CPG, so the packaged goods business, right? So I can talk from this perspective. Like if you're actually starting a packaged good or a service or something, like you need to, you have that opportunity. It's like a blank slate. You can actually build like everything according to what your identified customer wants. So we knew nothing about that. We just kind of jumped into it and was like, we're just going to make ravioli, but we didn't really look at trends or anything like that. Now, when we do R&D, and we have a really big push in R&D in our company, we're actually launching a new line of plant-based ravioli in the next week. Just a little plug there. But now we really think we it's much more structured. It's much more like, let's look for the pain points first. Let's look for where we can have cost efficiencies, right? So we can actually build a product within certain parameters. Like we know freight is really expensive. So that will play into our decisions about what our packaging is going to look like, right? We know, freezer space is really competitive, right? And much more costs involved in that. So, we also include shelf stable products as part of our lineup. So you're always having to think innovatively, I think, like customers are wanting to know transparency. Like now they want transparency in the food they eat. So we do certifications. That's something that's a real core part of our company, is seeking out those certifications to give people confidence in the brand and what they're eating. So we never started out like that, but it is a real analytical process. There's a lot of analyzing that goes into businesses and rolling out you know, products and services, right? So I think taking the time to really think through those things and looking at the pain points and how you fit in and how you can build your service or your product good is I think that's really important. I think that's a good tip. If I don't say so myself, it's a good tip.
Great tip.
And what else? Third, oh, I think mindset and self-care. And this is something that I struggle with all the time. And I think entrepreneurs struggle with it. Your biggest challenge is going to be your mind, really, when you're doing this. Like, you can psych yourself out so easily. You can lose confidence so easily. Like, it's and you can jump right into your projects and have blinders on and spend all your time. Like, you get into something and it's like, we got to get through it. We got to launch it. And you forget about the self-care part. You forget about, cultivating a happy mind, and I think it's really important. The struggle is real, no one ever has time for that. And especially if, COVID, it's been really tough. You have children, right?
Yeah, daughter.
So, I'm homeschooling, I'm doing, these things, like looking after ourselves and managing our thoughts and our mind really kind of gets pushed off, right? But it can really sabotage your business if you're not well, right? Like, you can lose everything. So
right now it's crazy, right? With the third wave, it's been really rough, but we're coming out. I see the light.
I know. With the COVID, and I always say this, with other entrepreneurs, right? Like, I know it's really tough, but I think any challenges like this provide you with opportunities. And for us, like, this period of time, that things are, necessarily slower, and your customers don't react in the same way as they would, right? But I always say, like, what can you do in this moment to just even progress your business in a little bit? And it might just be, what, I need to think through this process. I need to set up this system. It might be something really simple like that, right? I need to lay a foundation for when we get out of this pandemic, because we are, and people are going to want to spend money, and they're going to want to go out and entertain, and they're going to want to build up their businesses again, right?
They're going to want to buy pasta.
They're going to want pasta. They're going to need a virtual assistant, right? Like, they are. So, you don't want that to happen and be like, oh my gosh, like, where am I at? Right. So I always say, like, in those moments of, slower times or whatever it is, like, take those times to assess your business, see where can you move forward, where can plan, like. And we always did that, because in our business, it was cyclical. So there were times when it was not as busy, and that's when we did a lot of set up our projects and our goals for the next year. So mindset. What else? I think the other thing is that I really think right now it's a great time for entrepreneurs. There are so many resources out there for entrepreneurs. And there was nothing like 10 years ago. I did not feel, or we just weren't equipped. We weren't thinking in that way. Maybe there were, but I didn't feel that the ecosystem for, information sharing, the whole bit, was there for us. So everything we did, we learned on our own, right? But I think now, like, there's just so much out there, and especially for female entrepreneurs. I actually work for an organization called PARO, Center for Women Entrepreneurship, and I'm one of their business growth advisors. I've hooked up with so many female entrepreneurs. What we do is we provide resources and support for female entrepreneurs, and there's a lot of women out there doing some really great things.
Okay.
I'm learning so much, and they're willing to share. So for me, networking and taking advantage of all of those resources out there are really important. We learned that late in the game, but it's really through networking that we've been able to truly advance our business, like just finding the right people who can help us develop the path to success, right? To where we want to be. So networking is so important.
It's my favorite.
Is
I
it?
love networking.
And you're so good at it. Yes. Everyone
It's
knows
just a
Jenny.
party, making friends.
Making friends. That's exactly it. That's
Okay,
it.
well,
That's
that
it.
was awesome. Like, thanks so much for all those tips. Thank you for being on the show. And if we'll have a new guest, I believe, in 2 weeks, if everybody wants to tune in. So big thanks to Victoria.
That's great. Thank you, everyone. And feel free, to reach out. If you ever wanted to contact me, feel free, victoria@pastatavola.ca, and check us out on all our social and websites. See, I'm always a salesperson. What can I say? Thanks so much,
Okay.
everyone. You take
Thanks.
care. Have a good one. Bye-bye.